Hi, guys. Welcome to part two of my conversation with Jason from Oracle from Startups. We're going to continue our thoughts and processes on what startups are all about at Oracle. So what's the reaction been in
Yeah,
general from the
so
startups we have?
obviously, especially the ones that get revenue out of the relationship, has been excellent. Like I got a great story in Brazil. One of our startups is brought into Yamaha, and now they have a global reference and revenue, that they can talk about, and that earns them credibility. When you're a startup, you need that first real customer, and then that helps get the next and get the next. You touched on another thing that's actually super important too, and it's the amplification of the story, right? So we have a team. So our organization is comprised of a couple buckets. One, we'll talk about in a second, it's the technical bucket because migration is really, really important. And we help startups at no cost migrate to Oracle. And that's really, really serious when you only have like 5 developers who have to make new stuff. You don't want them to spend their time taking stuff that's old and putting
Right,
it right. And so
right.
we help do that. We have a team whose only responsibility is to help the startups navigate our sales organization. That's what we were talking about a second ago. And then within our
Yep.
group also is to help them amplify through PR, analyst relationship, and marketing. So, I've had startups with me on stage at South by Southwest, in Austin. We've had startups on stage with us at places like the Next Web and other places really all around the world. And a really important aspect of the program is that
Mm,
amplification.
right. Is these startups that we have today, or at least the ones that you're looking to bring into the program, what kind of stage are they in? Like, are they all the way from seed to Series
Yeah.
A, B, C, and like, what's your kind of sweet spot for this program?
Yeah, sweet spot for the program is, do you use cloud? Right? That's
Okay.
the sweet spot. So we do have seed stage people. So if I'm just talking about a startup journey, it's a lot easier for you to expand on a particular platform than to have to migrate. So for the ease of use of a startup, as well as the ease of, for just practically speaking for us, it's much better when you get them at the seed stage because then you get a chance to help grow with them. And they're not just growing with us from a technical perspective, but then they're getting to grow with us from like business development and mentorship and access to all this stuff, right? So there's that. We do work with a lot of Series A and above as well because they are ready for those enterprise sales, right? Like they've got the
Mm,
infrastructure, they got the support, and oh, by the
mm.
way, cost matters to them a lot more now.
Right, right. That
So
makes
yeah,
sense. And so, has there been just I mean, again, one out of what 100 startups ever succeed? I don't know, some kind of a stat that was thrown out to me. I mean, I was part of the lucky ones where
right.
we got acquired by Microsoft. So I guess
They're 1 out of 1 for
like
you, man. What are you talking about?
yeah, barometer is a little bit screwed up. But are there any success stories in terms of the startups that we've had that have had either an exit or
Yeah,
like
we
perhaps even being acquired by us? Maybe I have no idea.
Yeah. No, we recently acquired one out of the UK, and it was a really cool story where they did some cool stuff with videography to integrate with your marketing.
Oh,
Yeah,
I did see that.
yeah.
Yes.
And so, and it's a super young firm. Like the female founder was in college not that long ago. It's called Sauce. Actually started on the Google platform. This is a great story to like go, yeah, this is everything that is interesting that you might think, well, why Oracle,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but going back to what you said before, like the 1 out of 100, it's actually a funny Larry story because when we first started this program, we kind of looked like Y Combinator style, like it was an incubator, like you applied, we evaluated you, and we only selected like 5 companies for 6 months, and it would be in a physical location at one of our 8 locations around the world. And so Larry was like, "Hey, how many startups?" And I was, how many startups fail? I'm like, okay, um, all of them, right? And Larry was like, "Then why are you trying to evaluate and predict who's going to be successful? Why don't you let them all in?" I'm like, oh, "That's a pretty good idea." So we went from it's harder to get into our program than Stanford, right? Because it was, by the way, 5,000 people applied for like 40 slots, you know, then, go from that to like, why don't you let them all in and then let them all come. And if they fail and they had a good experience on Oracle, then they'll use Oracle again. And let's give them a good experience. Don't try to predict failure. And so that's exactly what we did. So about a year and a half ago, we changed the program to like super stringent to come on, you self-identify, come on.
No, that's
right.
Yeah, that's amazing,
And
because
that's how
it's not something people associate with Oracle.
Right.
Easy to work with.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, that attitude is changing,
Totally.
right? I mean, with the startup program, the always free developer services, and all these other things that we're offering, people are now starting to take notice and be like, oh, okay, well, we should give this a shot, right?
Totally. Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, you and I kind of joke about that, like that's not Oracle, but it's becoming that, right? So, we on our team, like I mentioned, kind of where we sit in the organization, we're not, and that's the difference between us and every other startup program in the cloud provider. We do not sit in a sales or BD organization. We started in engineering, right, and then we moved over to Larry, and because of that, that lets us really focus on saying, hey, startup, let us help you build stuff. Like, money will come later, revenue is going to come later. If we treat you well and give you a good experience, we'll benefit from that, right? We'll benefit from it. But let's focus on builders being builders. And so
that's exactly why I started the conversation with, like, you always see Larry talking about his passion projects, and that are all the startups, right? And he's got this little place in his heart for the startup community. And, I think that's really the focus. And like, I think that's going to be the success barometer, right? Like,
totally.
He's engaged. The organization directly reports up to him. He's got a direct hand in it. You go have fun at Larry's house. And so I think that kind of, shows the, sort of motivation from Oracle to invest in this area, right?
Yeah, totally. And, it is, here's another aspect about it. We decided to start not in Silicon Valley because we love this idea of rise of the rest, the Steve Case idea. And so some of our most, our greatest stories aren't from Silicon Valley, and like nothing wrong with Silicon Valley. That's where, right, Oracle kind of is, but, and we obviously work closely there these days, but, this notion too that, innovation is kind of everywhere, and the diversity of thought and the diversity of ideas and especially regions, because if you can focus on regions that aren't just like Silicon Valley, you start getting difference, and it's those differences that I think can fuel kind of change in how tech works and how the solutions that they're providing and things like that. So that's kind of been cool to do.
Yeah, now working from home, it doesn't really matter. So
clearly you know that.
Yeah. So hey, to end this off, Jason, for a startup listening to this, how do we get started? How do you go get in touch with people? Do we give them your personal cell phone, personal Larry's cell phone?
No, I'm kidding. Yeah. So it's super easy, actually. You go to oracle.com/startup and you could sign up right now. We have an entire program for startups to get started off on free credits, and you'll get in touch with one of our folks on the ground to help you out. There's an ambassador. There's a mentorship program to get involved in. Then you'll kind of learn about how you tap into our marketing, sales opportunities, marketing opportunities. But that's the best way to start is oracle.com/startup, and you can get going right away. So
perfect.
Easy.
Awesome. Hey, well, thank you so much, Jason, for taking the time, and we'll catch everybody else on another episode of Kicking It with Karan. Signing off.
Thanks.